All right. Well, my clock says noon. We might have a few more people chime in, so if you hear some chimes, we do have more people registered. But I'm Heidi Garvin, and I'd like to welcome you to Grow Nebraska's third Thursday training. These are monthly trainings that we hold. They are always free and open to the public, and that's thanks to the sponsorship that we get for these. So this month's third Thursday training is being sponsored by the U.S. Department of Agriculture through their Local Foods Promotion Program. And so big shout out to them for helping to make trainings like these available. We are really excited. We have Steve Maly from Maly Marketing, and he is going to talk to us about how to stop lighting our money on fire. Steve, I'll let you take it away.
Perfect. I appreciate it, Heidi. If at any point my audio starts cutting in and out, just let me know. My headphones that I'm using usually work out extremely well, except for the last presentation. So if there is anything, let me know. Like Heidi was saying, the main topic here is really stop lighting money on fire. So at MarketTech here in April, next month already, is that I'll be hosting a breakout session on this, where we'll really be able to get pretty deep into the whole subject. That one's going to be roughly, it's either an hour and a half or 2 hours. I don't remember the exact amount of time on that one. But again, it allows us to go pretty deep, where this one is kind of the shorter highlight version of it. So going through and thinking it through, what I really wanted to pull together was a couple of the main foundation parts of allowing you to stop lighting your money on fire, to really share that. And then the more nuts and bolts we can get into the MarketTech here next month when we host that. I don't recall, hey, do you videotape the MarketTech presentations or not?
We don't videotape the MarketTech presentations. Unfortunately, you do have to attend to participate. However, since all of you are participating in this third Thursday training call, I am going to be sending a discount code out after the call. So if you want to register for MarketTech, you can get it for the Grow Nebraska member rate if you're not a member, and Grow Nebraska members will get like $10 off.
Perfect. Okay. So on my side of it, I really have a couple of goals. Like I said, I really want to be able to share what's allowed us working with clients over the last, I guess, almost 13 years now at this point in time, to identify opportunities and see potentially where they're wasting money, where they're not wasting money. So I really want to be able to really kind of share that knowledge and the process that we go through with you. Like I said, nuts and bolts of it, at the MarketTech conference, we'll have more time to really get into all that, but at least the takeaways on here, you should start to really dive into it. The biggest thing is like any conference or any webinar, anything along these lines, ideally, I'll give you a lot of different nuggets. But the biggest thing I guess I challenge you to is to grab one or two things, make those one or two things kind of your goal over the next, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days to start building and implementing, and then come back to the additional components as well. One of the big issues we run into is just human beings. We'll write down, hey, this would be awesome to do these 10 things. This would be great. Well, then you sit down in your desk and you take a look where do you even start, and because there's so many things on the list, you don't know where to start, so you don't know how to do it, and nothing actually happens. So the big thing is just kind of jot down one or two things you want to take and implement, and then come back to a couple of other things you want to implement. So the thing I always want to start off with from the very beginning, and just kind of address this and get it out of the way, is that basically there's two different audiences you're going after. It's either business to consumer, B2C, or business to business. And with business to consumer, again, you're selling to the end consumer directly. Business to business, you're selling maybe to a broker, to something that's a little bit different, more on the business relationship side of it. At the end of the day, however, I'm a firm believer it's not necessarily, and it doesn't matter if it's business to consumer or business to business. At the end of the day, it's all about H to H. It's all about human to human. You are selling to another human being, and I don't care if they're coming to your store, if they're on the other side of the computer, whatever it may be, but it's another human. And I bring this up because there's times we put together marketing campaigns where we're talking with individuals, especially at training. They're like, well, no, I understand this, but my audience is different. My audience is, you kind of fill in blank, they're special. They're doctors, they're attorneys, they're literally NFL coaches, they're CEOs of large corporations. They're just different. And at the end of the day, it's not. Like, we've sold to all of those we mentioned, plus numerous other audiences. And it all comes down to being able to make a connection to them really on a human level. And so that's where this whole foundation really starts, is understanding you're trying to connect with another person, not another brand per se or department per se. It's all about another person. So what we want to do, taking a look at marketing overall, is marketing today, it's about 8.4 times more expensive than it was here 10 years ago. There's a lot more ad opportunities than were 10 years ago too, which is good and bad. It's good because it becomes that much more niche and concentrated at times, but it's also bad because you have a lot of opportunities to spend where you really shouldn't be spending money. Also, over the last 10 years, advertising has gotten 3 times more expensive during the process. Overall, in Nebraska, the average person gets hit with about 3,000 ad messages per day. Ad message. So I'm sitting actually in my conference room and looking around. I see a FedEx truck actually outside. I see a Scooter's mug. I see an Ice Mountain water jug. I see Apple computers. That's all ad messages hitting me on a consistent basis. If I'm in a larger community, New York, Chicago, LA, place along those lines, really we're taking a look closer to 8,000 to 10,000 ad messages per day. So again, it's all around, and you really have to start breaking through. So if you take a look at just traditional marketing, overall print advertising is down about 45% compared to 10 years ago. Local TV watching, actually for those that are under the age of 35, is down to only 28% total. Not down 28%, but only 28% of people under the age of 35 watch local TV live on a regular basis. The other component too is a Yellow Page. Actually, here in Lincoln, we just got Yellow Pages, the new books delivered here last weekend. And I remember when they used to come out, they used to be, roughly 8 inches, 12 inches thick, it seemed like. Anymore, they're 3 to 4 inches thick. You look at the white page portion of it, and it's extremely skinny. And so their market is really changing as well. If you take a look at the Yellow Page industry as well as the newspaper industry, is that they project actually this year, 2016 now, that the majority of their revenues and profits will actually be made online, not through the print publications that they have. And so you can take a look at their business model and how that's really shifting. Because overall, if you want to take a look at where people are spending a lot of time, overall the average person spends 23 hours per week online. That could be blogs, that could be social media, that could be YouTube videos, it could be all over the place. But overall, the average person spends almost an entire day, almost 24 hours, just online. If you all take a look at shift and how marketing has shifted, behavior-based ads are up 600% over the last 3 years. What a behavior-based ad is, for example, I've gone to this website taking a look at buying golf clubs. Now, if I go to ESPN or Fox News or CNN, I see that those golf clubs for sale. It's showing me these ads based on my previous behavior. It's the same type of thing, too, is maybe offline, maybe locally with my credit card, I purchased a kayak here in the last 6 months. Well, potentially now I could be seeing ads of, for actually a great example is Valentine, Nebraska, where I can go up there and use my kayak. I'm getting those ads served to me because it knows that I purchased a kayak 6 months ago. And again, it's not because I purchased it online, it just knows my purchasing habits. So that's what behavior-based ads really is. If you take a look, and this is actually kind of interesting, I know, for those of you that are around, honestly, it's almost anybody below the age of 30, it seems like, is 34 out of every 60 seconds that somebody is on a phone, they're on a phone for social reasons, for social media reasons. Now, if it's Snapchat, if it's Instagram, if it's Facebook, if it's Twitter, whatever it may be, but 34 out of every 60 seconds on a phone is now made up, just being social-based. If I recall correctly, using a phone for an actual telephone call, I think is like the number 5 most popular activity on a phone. So it's interesting just how things are really shifting and moving. So overall, 91% of buying decisions take place online. That doesn't mean they're necessarily buying online. It's just that the decision process takes place online. So when we bought video cameras here a few years back for our office, We went online. We took a look at different types of video cameras. We took a look at the specs of the video cameras. We took a look at reviews and price points and all that good stuff. We logged off and bought it locally. But the buying process takes place online. Even if you're thinking about meeting up with somebody, due diligence-wise, you're going to go online to find out more information about them. We just went through a big hiring push and brought a couple new people aboard. And whenever we got an application in, the first thing we did was go online to find more information about them. And business-to-business selling, since a lot of it's a relationship, you go online to find more information about that person, that client, who you're dealing with. So you can see a huge shift is obviously taking place online. With that being said, one of the biggest, wow stats that I've come across actually over the last couple of months is 94% of all spending takes place in a physical place. So that means physically and locally. And actually locally, 91% of people's discretionary income is spent within 5 miles of a home. So yes, we live in a very online world, but at the end of the day, we're still buying, 91% of my discretionary income goes to being spent locally. If you think about it, think about here, I'll use an example this morning, that I woke up and I went to a networking event this morning. Well, I had to go and I had to get gas, so I put gas in my tank. Then I went and got coffee. Then at the networking event, I bought a bagel. Then after the networking event, I actually got another cup of coffee. Then on the way to my office, I had to go mail some letters and, some invoices and stuff like that out. So all that, again, is local spending, where people get so caught up, or I'm buying this off of Amazon, I'm buying this off of, Frank and Oak, I'm buying this off of Apple. Well, in reality, is that the money is getting spent locally. There is a reason, actually, that Amazon announced here a month ago that they are building local retail centers. They're setting up retail shops, physical brick and mortar shops throughout the United States because they understand a huge chunk of that spend takes place locally. Apple, roughly 10 years ago, did the same thing. They are the most profitable physical retailer in the entire world. Frank and Oak is doing the same thing at a clothing store. And so you can see a lot of these big brands, these big online brands, they're really going local because they understand how much money is spent locally. And I think, again, that's one of those things that people tend to lose focus of. It's really how much, even though the buying decision process takes place online, physically, locally, how much of the money is spent. And so you can take a look at that. So with that being said, it's not like it's just doom and gloom, where, hey, if you're not online, no one's going to find you. You don't exist if you're not online. There's parts of that are true to a certain extent. But again, there's numerous other ways to kind of hit up people and be in front of people and market to people correctly. So the first thing I really want to dive into to figure out basically to figure out, are you lighting money on fire? Are you blowing money? Is let's focus first on your potential clients. Your potential clients as well as your current clients. Let's really focus on that because those individuals will tell you how to market to them. So a couple of things I'm going to share here honestly sound pretty simple. The funny thing is I went to talk to a university class here in Lincoln a couple weeks ago, and it was a marketing class. So it all kind of came down to, it was a bit of a panel, and they asked, what's the biggest thing that you learned by doing this over the last 12, 13 years? And I made the comment about getting to know your buyers very, very intimately, getting to know your clients very, very intimately. And I heard some people snickering in the class. It's because in college we teach, the professors get taught this. In business, we know it. We know that we need to concentrate on our best clients or our best buyers. But at the end of the day, a lot of times we don't. It's either because we lose focus on it, or we get so busy, working day in and day out, or we almost get this tunnel vision, and we kind of forget the reason why people are truly buying from us. So that's the very first thing we always start off with, is really identifying and get to know your best buyers. So the thing with your best buyers, and we'll get into more details of this, but the thing about your best buyers is that generally speaking, you gotta think kind of small. Is that in Lincoln, we come across this, there's 300,000 people that live basically in Lancaster County. And so we'll be talking with prospects, and we'll ask them who their market is. They're like, well, it's Lincoln. It's everybody in Lancaster County. That's who we're marketing to. Well, huge chunks of those people have nothing to do with your product or service or what you're really trying to offer. And so one example of this and helping somebody kind of think smaller in their market is that this is probably 3 years ago now at an event I was speaking at. And we're talking about thinking small, and somebody rose their hand in the back. And they're like, well, I'm a massage therapist. I'm in a town, I don't remember what town in Nebraska, but it was a town of 800 people. And she's like, that's my market. My market is those 800 people because that's all I live in. That's what surrounds me. So we started going through this process with her. And we asked, hey, do you do anything with the elderly? And she's like, well, no. And the way that she put it is like, their bones are brittle, and I don't like to massage them. I'm like, fair enough. Do you do anything with infants? Well, no, that's just kind of silly. Well, do you do anything with teenagers? Do you do with anybody, in their 20s? And we kept on really breaking this down, where at the end of the day, even in that community of 800 people, we realized her best buyers were those stay-at-home farm wives. Those farm wives that would come in and would be able to come in twice a month. And at the end of the day, out of those 800 people in that community, realistically, there's only about 50 were really in her target market, her best buyers. Now there'd be people outside of that 50 that will come in, but that 50 really drove 80% of her revenue. So it's being able to think small with some of this. We'll talk with people when it comes to direct mail, and they're like, hey, we want to do a direct mail drop of these zip codes, and these zip codes is 20,000 people. Well, great. How about we segment out the people in those zip codes even that much further, and instead of dropping to 20,000, you drop to the absolute best 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. And how do you identify that? I'll kind of walk through the process, and we'll get into a lot more details here next month at Market Tech as well. So when it comes down to, though, it's 80-20. It's the 80-20 rule that pops up all the time in business. 80% of your revenue and profits are generally made up by 20% of your audience, 20% of your clients. And so you need to be able to concentrate on who those 20% of your best buyers truly are. And so one of the simple things at the beginning is literally being able to identify your most profitable 20% and then spend 80% of your marketing dollars on that 20%. I mean, that right there will literally allow you to stop lighting a lot of your money on fire because you're not overlapping, you're not sending it to people that might be kind of interested or be interested 6 months on the road or 12 months. It's the best buyers you potentially could have right now. And I understand we're working with a client currently whose sales cycle is 3 to 4 years. So he has to be focusing out for 3 or 4 years. But again, if we're putting any effort in, we're focusing on those people that can make an impact to our business in those lower numbers instead of trying to hit everybody. Be everything to everybody. So the big thing is be able to take a look at your numbers overall. Who are the clients you have right now? Where are they coming from? What are some of their common characteristics? How have they heard about you? And then simply just be able to get away from your office or get away from your store or whatever it is and just start writing some of this stuff down, giving almost a gut check, if you will. So that's one of the processes. There's other processes we go through. Actually, if you do have a store, that is fantastic because it allows you to talk to your customers as they walk in, as they shop. Maybe it's even one of those things that when they're shopping, you're not necessarily talking to them, but you're watching them. You're seeing how they interact with certain products. You see what kind of questions they have about certain products. You can see, it can take a lot of education for certain products. It's interesting, but part of the reason why Apple and now Amazon is going into a brick and mortar, part of it obviously is to capture some of that spend we talked about, but part of it also is simply to be able to do research, conduct research, see what their customers like and what they don't like, and again, be able to physically watch them in the past and how they come to a buying decision. And it's a fantastic opportunity that we have a lot of times in Nebraska, especially with the small shops. Being the owner or being somebody on the front line, you have a great opportunity to be able to start talking to these people and really get to know on intimate knowledge why are they coming in, what do they like, what they don't like. Another thing is you're not in face-to-face. So with our company and or a lot of companies, I should say, it's not like we're a retail center where we have people come in all the time where we can start watching them, So what we do and what we recommend clients do is take 10 to 15 of your best clients, the most profitable clients, and talk to them. Talk to them in kind of an informal survey type of thing. Now, you can send out a formal survey. You can do SurveyMonkey. That stuff can work out fairly well. But the reason why we recommend getting on the phone with these people is a couple of reasons. One, if you get on the phone with them and you ask them questions and why they like you, why they buy from you, what are their reasons, it shows that you care. And we've actually seen an influx of business. The people that we reach out to is that those people, once we have that conversation with them, they're more likely to come back and do more business again and again, because again, it shows that we care. But at the same time, is once we have these conversations, and again, we're talking 5 or 10 minutes, so it's not a really long conversation, is that you start talking with these people and you help really discover their why. Why do they value your service or your product more than they value the money in their pocket? And once they start explaining that, you'll notice language patterns. You'll notice that they start saying the same things over and over and over again. And those language patterns are what you want to use in your messaging. If your audience is telling you the same thing, use that language directly back onto them. So, for example, we're working with one client, and with him, he teaches people how to blog. And when he first got into business, he was able to realize by blogging, he was able to build up in a fairly successful business. It's a six-figure business, so it's definitely very, very successful. But he also believed, well, the reason why people want to learn how to blog is so they can make a six-figure income just like me. Well, in reality, when we started talking to these people, it had nothing to do with that income. The language that appeared over and over again in these quick little 5 to 10 minute conversations is I simply want to check this off my bucket list. You know what? I've been talking about this. I just want to do it. I want to have that sense of accomplishment. So now when we're doing marketing and writing up advertising for them, that's the exact same language that we use. We're getting away from, hey, become a blogger, and I'll show you how to make six figures. So you know what? You want to do this for a while. Let us show you the way. If you want to make money on it, fantastic. We'll show you that. However, let's check this off your bucket list. Let's have that sense of accomplishment. And so it changes that conversation up quite a bit. But it's interesting. And again, this sounds simple, but it's huge. Once we're able to match up language patterns with the buyers and put that back out into marketing, this is no exaggeration because we're able to prove this ROI-wise. At times, you can cut your lead costs to acquire a customer in half. We have one client that we're able to actually increase their conversion rate of getting a new client making purchases by 40%. And it's because we're matching up the conversation, the language that they're using. So that's why it's so important to be able to talk to some of your current clients. And most of them are very open to sharing. Very, very open to sharing. Now, when we shared this here at a conference I guess it was just last month in February, somebody made a comment, well, I talk to my clients all the time, is that I have a pretty good understanding. And if that's the case, that's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. One thing we ran into from time to time, though, is that even though they're in communication with their clients on a fairly regular basis, it's more of a one-on-one type of thing. You're looking at that conversation with that individual at that moment, not holistically, not taking a look at all the conversations that take place overall. So what you want to do is be able to take a look at all those conversations and kind of build out a profile really based on that. And that's what helps out a ton. The biggest thing is a lot of these findings might surprise you why they give you money. They might give you money for reasons you never really expected. One example of this, we worked with a couple of years ago a property management company. And generally speaking, in most industries, the property management companies will charge 8 to 10% of the rent on a monthly basis. He was charging either just 3 or 4% on a monthly basis. And he's like, the reason why clients are with me is because we're literally half the cost of our competition. We're cheaper than our competition. That's the reason why people are buying from us. Well, we sat down and we started interviewing some of his clients, and that really wasn't the case. Is they loved that he was, it was family owned. They loved that they can talk to the business owner directly. They loved when they called in, they weren't sent to some corporate center in St. Louis where they had to hit 1 and then 4, then 6, then 2, maybe get disconnected. They loved that they were able to actually talk to somebody. They also really respected the fact that once he came in to fix something, once he recommended some kind of fix, it wasn't because he could make a bunch of money that day. It was literally to help extend the life of their home, their apartment complex, whatever it was. So going through these interviews, we found out price for them was number 5 on the list. Is that price was just kind of that cherry on top to a certain extent. So coming back and after talking to his clients, we recommended that, hey, you can actually raise your rates from 3 to 4% to even up to 6%. You're still below the market average. But going up by that 6% will produce, X amount of dollars in revenue. And so he's able to do that, and he paid for all of our marketing services just in 3 months because of that increased revenue that he's able to gain by finding those nuggets. Overall, price is almost always number 4 or number 5 on the list of the reason why they do business with somebody. Most of the time, it's convenience, it is customer service, it's superior service, it is superior quality of product, just brand loyalty pops up quite a bit. So price is really down on the list. A lot of times we believe that price is pretty high on the list, but in reality it's not. It really is not. So keep that in mind, is not only is you're pricing things out, but why people are doing business with you. So again, what you do is once you have that, you start building these different type of models and profiles is what they call them. One thing to kind of jot down that helps build this profile that much more, if you Google Claritas, My Best Segments, Claritas, Claritas, My Best Segments. There's free software. There's a paid version, but for most of us, the free one would work out just fine. That will actually help you profile more and more customers. So if you have certain zip codes that you do a lot of business in, you can tap into that zip code and you can find out all kinds of demographics. Maybe there's a empty nesters, a cluster, if you will, of empty nesters that live in the zip code. Maybe there's a cluster of millennials that live in the zip code. Well, you realize with the people you work with, maybe it's the empty nesters you really want to do a lot, or you are doing a lot of business with. Those are ones that are most profitable. So what you'd actually do is that you would take a look, and it would click on the next button, and it's very apparent once you're able to kind of get into this, and it'll actually build out more profile data on empty nesters who live in the zip code, from household income to spending, discretionary spending, to what TV shows they watch, to what vehicles they have, to generally speaking the average age of kids, to if they have pets, to what magazines they read, and it gets to be really, really intimate. And it's a fantastic tool. We've used the paid version, but again, we're a marketing firm, and so that's why people pay us. But I believe the majority of people here on the call, if you use just the free one, it'll get you so much farther where you're at now, to really identify who your clientele is. One thing, too, if you have Facebook, is you could take a look at Facebook Insights. Facebook here, it's probably been 4 years maybe, they teamed up with Experian, the credit company. And so Facebook knows just about everything about you. What they don't know about you, Experian knows, because Experian will be able to literally see your physical spending habits. So I made that comment earlier on about targeting people that bought the kayak in the last 6 months. We can do that because of Experian. Through Facebook, we can do a search and just target those individuals. But before you even get into that, it's Facebook Audience Insights. So again, Facebook Audience Insights allows you for free to start looking at your market, and you can start diving deeper into your market. So maybe my market is Scottsbluff, and actually here's one that we've kind of worked with a client. It's Scottsbluff, and those people in Scottsbluff that like to drink wine. And so we start diving pretty deep into this, and we see, average medium age, average income, are they married or not married, level of education, what else do they buy, what else have they bought in the last 6 months. And so it starts really, again, building this profile. And that's what this whole case is about, is kind of building this profile of the best buyers, to be able to get to know them on a very, very intimate basis. But there's some fantastic free tools out there that allow you to use it to really build this audience out. Because, again, that's where it all starts with, is a lot of people try to be too general. They try to be too general to too many people. Whereas they become very, very concentrated, then you can pick your budget, because let's be open. Your budget is your budget for marketing. Maybe you make a number up. Maybe your budget for marketing is $5,000 a year. I would rather spend that $5,000 trying to attract 1,000 people instead of spending that $5,000 and trying to attract 20,000 people. If you try to attract 1,000, you do more higher-end pieces or impact pieces at least. Try to attract those people. And so that's where the intimacy with your audience really comes into play. So again, I know it's simple on that side of it, but it's something a lot of us as business owners don't necessarily follow. And I've gone through this. We do this data-lead for our clients. And to a certain extent, I lost focus on, why people are giving me money, basically. So we went through this exercise not too long ago to make sure that we addressed it and we really stay on top of it and fully understand why people are doing business with us. So we really want to dive into that. Another thing, and actually at Marketech visually we'll be able to really kind of show this off. But what we do when we start compiling this information, we just put it into a best buyer guide. And best buyer guide has a few different sections, about 6 to 7 different sections. But a lot of it's just having these conversations, doing some due diligence, writing down what your gut tells you. And once you're able to go through that, you can really start building this out. So on the best buyers, you want to take a look, again, at their demographics, but also kind of their identifiers. So, for example, if you're doing work and you're marketing towards women in their 30s, generally speaking, women in their 30s are married, have kids, and if you're a young mom with kids, you always try to balance life and work at the same time. And so you start to get to know these type of intimate details about them, just by kind of putting your place or yourself in their place at that point in time. You take a look at their overall lifestyles and beliefs. Lifestyles and beliefs will actually come through that Claire Does My Best segment, will come through conversations, and also come from Facebook Insights. They actually have a section called Lifestyles, so you can really start to develop what their lifestyle looks like. The next thing you want to take a look at is their challenges, and maybe the challenges and why they would not buy from you. There's some of those things up front that, they might have hesitation. We do a lot of tourism work, and there's a tourism client we're working with right now, and one of the big things that people, how they react when you say, hey, do you want to come to this place, is, well, I've heard of that, but what is there to do? There's nothing to do. So we address that up front. We address that challenge up front, so that way we can get past it within the first, 10 seconds, and we continue to move on and really kind of build from there. Then once you have this information from the beliefs to the backgrounds, the lifestyles, all that info, what you want to start doing is putting your messaging together. And when we talk to people about messaging, right off the bat, don't try to be perfect. Don't try to be perfect when it comes to the absolute best messaging that's out there. The biggest issue we run into when people try to be perfect is that they try to overanalyze or tend to overanalyze, and they don't take action. They don't get anything done. They don't build momentum. So what we're looking at, if you haven't gone through this process before, by even going through some of this process, is you're going to be 80% ahead of the majority of people out there. So keep that in mind. So if the messaging is right down in bullet point, the overall premise behind this, the overall premise why they give you money. Maybe the overall marketing message is, hey, we are family owned. Hey, we've been in this community for the last 47 years. You can talk directly to the person that makes, X, Y, Z, that type of thing. Is start jotting down some of that. And again, that's what will start driving your overall messaging and your marketing. One cool thing is going back to the conversations you have with clients, they'll tell you how to market to them. A lot of times they'll make comments about, direct mail or online or Facebook or magazines, trade publications, all kinds of stuff. They'll start telling you and start really filling some of this in. You just have to have that conversation and being open to have that conversation with them. That will be one of the big things that really, truly help on this whole side of it. So that's concentrating on the best buyers. Like I said, if you start with the best buyers, you'll stop letting a lot of money on fire just off the bat, because you'll be communicating to them better, and you'll be communicating to them in ways that they prefer. Again, right off the bat. At Marketech, we'll actually have a guide you can download. You can really kind of go through this as well. The other component that we take a look at as a foundation piece, again, this is all about kind of the foundation pieces, is lifetime value. Lifetime value will help create the audiences and to help point out the audiences you want to go after. So the way that we look at lifetime value is how much will they buy from you in the next 3 years? In the next 3 years, are they buying from you 3 times a year, 10 times a year, 4 times a year? But how much are they buying from you over the next 3 years? Because the majority of the time, actually it's been scientifically proven, once somebody spends money with you once, I think they're like 8 times more likely to spend money with you again. In marketing, also, it's 4 to 5 times more expensive to try to get a new buyer than it is to try to keep a previous one. So let's really take a look at leveraging that relationship. But an example of what the what the lifetime value is, just to make math easy, Let's say that your average sale price is $200. The average person buys from you 2 times a year. That means over 3 years, the lifetime value of that person is $1,200. Even though your initial sale is $200, the value in 3 years is $1,200. So how that breaks down, even if you spend $120 to get that first sale, and a lot of people are like, well, I'm not spending $120 to make $200. If you look at long term, you're spending $120 to make $1,200. And so you're getting a 10x under return. And obviously, anytime you get a 10x, you want to take advantage of it. We have one client that our KPI, key performance indicator, if we can get them a new client for a new client for $120, their product for that first sale is $97. So they're losing $23 every time somebody buys a product for them right off the bat. But they know they can maximize that and get over $4,000 from them in the next 3 years. So it turns out to $120 to make $4,000, not $120 to lose $23, if that makes sense. But it's being able to know that long-term wise. Even us internally, we do a lot of hosting and maintenance. With hosting and maintenance, generally speaking, it's $45 a month. Well, we also know those people tend to be with us for 5 or 6 years. Anytime they have any other online marketing need, from websites to running digital ads to social media, they'll come back to us. So we lose money actually in the first 3 months on bringing on a new hosting client, but we know long-term wise, it definitely comes back and it comes into play. So it's always kind of keep that in mind. One simple example, but this really just hits home, is daycare centers. Is that we worked with a daycare center up in Omaha, and the average person, average child, was in their daycare for 2.5 years. After 2.5 years, either they graduated, went into a kindergarten or preschool, family moved, whatever it may be, but the average one stuck with them for 2.5 years. In 2.5 years, that daycare brought in over $18,000 from those kids. The depressing fact is that I have a daughter that's 16, and I have another son that was born here 5 months ago tomorrow, is that it's actually cheaper for us to send our 16-year-old when she's ready to go to college than it is to send our son Jack to daycare. In my mind, it's unbelievable, but the dollars and cents wise, it's true. So again, she knew that $18,000 of revenue what would come in for that one child. So we ran a campaign. What we ended up doing is running a campaign that said, hey, you bring your child to our daycare center, infant a lot of times, but I would say below the age of 2.5, 3, is we'll give you free diapers for an entire year. As long as that child is here in this daycare center, we will supply all of the diapers. And we're sending this out, and people absolutely loved it. Well, the daycare owner knew when they go to buy diapers, they buy them in bulk. She also knew the average cost to put diapers on a kid for an entire year was roughly $230. Well, if the average cost was $230 and that's what got them in the door, she's making $18,000 on the back end. So again, she understood the lifetime value. Once you understand the lifetime value, it gives you a lot of flexibility in marketing and sales and how to bring these people in or how to encourage them from coming in more and more and more. One cool thing that we've learned as well, I would love to claim this idea, but if it's not, we read it other places, and there was a company in Lincoln that took advantage of it, was for those of you that use any type of loyalty program, any type of punch cards, what they have shown with punch cards is that, the premise behind a punch card, you buy a product 10 times, you get one for free. You buy a product 7 times, you get one for free. Is going through and getting to know your numbers, is that maybe it's one of those things that if they buy from you 7 times, you've been able to make enough money, you're more than happy to give them something for free. So if you know your number is 7, what you still do is produce punch cards that have 10 punches on it. And what you do with those 10 punches is that right off the bat, you give the person that comes in 3 free punches. You're like, hey, I like you. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for trusting us. I really appreciate your business. Because of that, let me punch the first 3 for you for free. If you've already purchased, let me do the first 3. Well, the cool thing about it is it starts to build momentum. They get that nice, warm, and fuzzy feeling inside, but it really starts to build momentum as well. Because you're very likely, and this is scientifically proven, you're very likely to throw away a punch card with only 1 punch on it. You are very much unlikely to throw away a punch card with 3 punches on it because you're in momentum. You've started moving. You're, a quarter of the way there, roughly speaking, to getting something for free. And so when people have done this and started punching this out, again, understanding their lifetime value, is the punch cards come in and like it's extra 42% of them come in compared to just regular punch cards. So it's a huge, huge, huge impact on those type of things, but it's all about momentum. How do you get somebody in momentum? And how does that really work? So take a look at what has high perceived value. So that daycare, the diapers had high perceived value. For coffee shops, the free coffee has a really high perceived value. Popcorn shops, a free bag of popcorn, high perceived value. Your costs associated with it. So give something away that has really high perceived value in order to get somebody in the door. Or highly discount something that gives them highly perceived value, again, to get them in the door. And then you can really start to maximize it and really build it from there. So that's the huge component of lifetime value and really the value behind it. At MarketTech, and so I guess take a step back. So the big things we start off with every client that we bring in the door on a campaign basis is literally talking to 10 to 15 of their clients, figuring out why they're buying from them, figure out their exact language. And this is the reason why we prefer to have phone conversations and not the client per se, but for us, so we can start right now their exact language, making notes about their exact language. And then also ask them, like, how do they go through a buying? How do they make a buying decision? And they'll tell you. Like, more often than not, we'll be able to get these reports back, and we'll cut out, 30% of their spend, 40% of their spend. We had one client here 2 years ago, I guess probably now, is that we took their print budget from $30,000 down to $6,000. And the reason is because we found out through interviews and really identifying their best clients that the magazines that they were advertising in, people didn't read them and they weren't taking action because of them. One of them was USA Today. USA Today did an awesome spotlight on this community each year. And it was great. It went out to, I don't remember the exact numbers, maybe 120,000 people. And it looked awesome. But the thing is those 120,000, hardly any of them actually took action to come to this community. So that right there was a cost savings of $6,000. And we're able to reinvest in other ways. And so that's what happens when you get to really know your buyers on an intimate basis. And again, once you kind of understand the lifetime value and the sales funnel, you can make those type of decisions. We have one client, and I can actually give the nuts and bolts at MarketTech on this one, is that they've hired us for 2016, and we're not doing any media placement for them. They have most of their media placement bought. Media placement, direct mail, magazines, newspapers, TV. I don't think they're doing radio. They're doing some online ads as well. But what our job is to set up analytics and really start following what makes impact in the marketplace. If it's one of those things that gets proven that when this newspaper drops, is that we've noticed a huge increase in website traffic, for example. Well, that means you probably have a good relation there. If this other print piece drops and you see no ripple effect, you see nothing when it comes to web analytics and other analytics, and that means you're wasting money there. And so we're setting up processes to be able to start monitoring this and so we can fully see and really start gauging. Generally speaking, I don't want to give generalities. So Denise, this comes back to the question you kind of asked earlier on. Basically, is it a waste spending money on radio and TV? And at the end of the day, it's all about your audience. Generally speaking, if you have more of a 45 plus audience, TV can still work out extremely well. But you take a look at how people are viewing TV. So a lot of times when people talk about buying TV, they used to be talking about Channel 7, Channel 6, ABC, NBC, the major networks, Fox, that type of stuff. Well, because of the plethora of options now, from Netflix to Hulu to DVRs to all that, is that you actually have different options. And so if you have a younger demographic, instead of spending $10,000 a year, $12,000 on TV ads, take a look at spending that money on Hulu. You'll actually be in front of those people, those eyeballs. Hulu does a pretty solid job. They're getting away from it a little bit, but a pretty solid job of having the commercial period be short and sweet. Sometimes it's 30 seconds. Sometimes it's 180 seconds. But overall, it's not too long, but that means the eyeballs get it. So it's just shifting a little bit. Or again, for a younger audience, take a look at maybe doing some of those, video work on YouTube. Some of the pre-roll, and maybe it's a 15-second ad that you'd really show on YouTube. That stuff can work out extremely well. If it's an older audience, regular network TV or even cable TV can work out extremely well. We're working with a audiologist here in Lincoln, and with that audiologist, is their market is generally 55 plus, and so for them to run TV ads on an HGTV, Lifetime channel, and there's a few other ones built into there, works out extremely well because that's what their audience is and that's kind of how they relate. Radio can be good, again. It depends on what time of the day that you're advertising. It depends how many times they run those ads, and it depends on your market. It can be effective, but what we like to do is be able to set up analytics to see with your audience if it's as effective as you really want it to be. So it can't say that, hey, does it work, does it not work? It can. It just all depends on your audience. One of the top questions we get as well is direct mail. With a plethora of online advertising and people being all over the place, I guess we don't even get the question. We get the assumption that direct mail is dead. Well, outside of online advertising, direct mail is one of the biggest revenue generators, not necessarily for us, but for our clients. Is because a bunch of people are not doing direct mail pieces. If you do it correctly and you do it well, it can make a huge, huge impact. And there's been cases that we worked with that literally had a 33%. There was a call to action, and 33% of the people that got the direct mail piece followed that call to action on that direct mail piece. So it can work out extremely well. It just all depends on your audience and how they want to interact with you. So taking a look at this and kind of moving forward, I know we're in the final couple of minutes and we want to have some time for Q&A. The biggest thing is in Market Tech, we'll have an hour and a half, I believe, to really dive deep into this. I can show you the guides. I can show you exactly what we use for best buyers. I'll give you the formulas, all that. Plus, when we start talking about implementation, this is how you implement it online. This is how you implement through direct mail. This is how you implement even on a simple brochure once you figure out what your audience is truly all about. And so we'll really be able to get into a lot of details on that side of it. Plus, in Market Tech, we'll be talking about brand and what a brand is overall. Because honestly, there's some confusion in the marketplace. And I'll break it down really, really simply for exactly how you should be taking a look at a brand and how that interacts with your audience. We'll be talking about education-based marketing. Education-based marketing really pulls 8 to 10 times better than product or service-based. So that's another rung in the wheel. Instead of saying, hey, I'm great, I'm amazing, I'm fantastic, buy for me, education-based marketing gives people a lot of value. It teaches people things. It teaches and shows people really either how much you know about the market, because people love doing business with experts, or at the end of the day, how much you even care about the market. When I say care, my language might have been poor on that one, but care, like literally care, like give back, like love the market. So we'll really start diving into some of that as well. And we'll talk about Google Analytics and how to set up Google Analytics, but even for things that are not online, how to use Google Analytics to really track your marketing to see how well things are working or how well things are not working. Because at the end of the day, I can't tell you exactly what should work for you or what should not. Historically, we can show you what's worked out previously for like clients and case studies and all that good jazz, but the people will tell us. And so as long as there's the right analytics in place, the people will tell us over and over again. So hopefully with a couple of simple foundation pieces, that gives you a solid idea of at least being able to where to go. I'd say the biggest thing is just getting to know your buyers on an intimate basis, interview them, model the language, ask them how, basically how they make buying decisions and place your money there. It sounds simple, but even going through that exercise can save you literally thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in marketing spend on an annual basis. So with that being said, Heidi, any type of questions come across?
I was going to say, that's all awesome information. Thank you. We did have the one submitted that you already addressed. Does anybody else have questions?
I do. Nancy Haberstich. Can you tell me again, Steve, what the free software is? I got the My Best, but I didn't get.
Yeah, it's Claritas. Claritas. It's Claritas My Best Segments.
My Best what?
Segments. SEG.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. Thank
like
you.
I said, there's a free version, there's a paid version, and the majority of people that the free one is fantastic. It'll get you a ton of info. So definitely take advantage of that.
What does your version, how does it go beyond what the free one has?
So on the paid version, what it does is it allows us to really break into, I'm actually pulling up a screenshot of this. It'll get us more information on certain lifestyles, the people that have these type of traits overall, live in these areas, or that, again, are female between ages of 35 to 45. What kind of lifestyles, like what are they buying, what are they into, where do they shop, what do they read, those type of things. It'll actually reference exact media. The free version will give you ideas of media. You'll say maybe it's Wired magazine, maybe it's Sports Illustrated, but this will actually break down a lot of other media channels for you as well. And then the premium, and we use this more for the national clients, is that premium be like, all right, well, here's the cluster of your audience here in Nebraska. Where else does a cluster of those type of people live throughout the United States?
Oh, okay.
So they'll show you maybe a cluster of those exact same people in Utah, California, New York, Pennsylvania, Texas, those type of communities. So
yeah, that might be of interest to me because I'm trying to reach beyond Lincoln and my local. So yeah. Thank you for the information. It's really been helpful.
You betcha. Any other questions?
Well, real quick, I was going to say, Nancy, if you want to contact Steve after this, if you do decide to purchase some of his services, I'll be sending out his contact information in an email later this afternoon.
Great.
Perfect. Thanks, Ed. I guess there's nothing else. Definitely feel free to reach out to me, follow up. I always joke that I don't have a law degree, so because of that, I can't charge you, $250 for a 10-minute conversation. So definitely feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to kind of help out. So.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much, Steve, and thank you everybody who called in today. We're excited to have you. If you like trainings like these, we are having, again, we have them every month, and so the one next month is actually going to be Monica Braun from REAP, and she's going to be talking about the different resources that you can access through them.
Awesome. They are fantastic, so that should be cool.
Yeah, and like I mentioned before, we will, as a thank you for attending this training, be sending out a discount code for our Market Tech Conference. That's April 26th and 27th in Kearney. You can go and see all of our wonderful speakers like Steve.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for the time, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.